from the world empire of 1945 to 1950 to the national security state of the early 50s. I used real characters like Roosevelt, though I never presumed to enter his mind. He is observed only by fictional characters, whose lives are lived within the context of actual events. Washington, D.C. proved to be a popular novel, particularly on Capitol Hill. But one British reviewer, unable to believe the mild pre-Watergate corruptions that I note, called me the American Suetonius, which I did not like, since I was reporting, not inventing, the world of our rulers, while an American reviewer thought that the book was closer to a glossy MGM film than to serious fiction. He knew even then that serious novels did not contain sunsets and cabinet meetings, while serious people certainly did not have butlers and chauffeurs, nor did they know, much less quarrel with, presidents. Part of the not-so-endearing folklore of my native land is that we have no class system. This means that any mention of it by a novelist will provoke deep, often quite irrational anger. After all, our teachers are paid to teach that we are a true democracy, not a republic and certainly not an oligarchy. And our meritocracy is easy to break into if you will only take your academic studies seriously. My attempt, fairly late in my career, to write an autobiographical novel raised more questions in my mind than ever it settled. I have never been my own subject, and history has always distracted me from my own education, sentimental or otherwise. I was also aware at school that our history, to the extent that I knew anything about it firsthand, was not only ill-taught, but seriously distorted. Why not write true history and then, for added points of view, set imaginary characters in its midst? After all, this has been pretty much the main line of Western literature, from Aeschylus to Dante to Shakespeare to Tolstoy, as well as to hordes of other narrators from Scott to Flaubert. When the decision was made by Bismarck to educate the lowest order so that it would be able to handle complex machinery and weapons, intellectuals knew that there was risk involved. If they could read, might they not get ideas? Wrong ideas? The argument about education went on for a generation or two and involved everyone from Mill to the Reverend Malthus. Meanwhile, they did learn to read. But what should they read? What actually went on inside the palace was out of bounds, and there were to be no cabinet meetings ever. On the other hand, sunsets were nice, and so the good and the beautiful and the true became the serious novel as we know it. Cautionary tales designed to keep the lowest order in its place as docile workers and enthusiastic consumers. The great elimination of subjects to which Mary McCarthy adverted a generation ago has been underway for some time. The popular novel of the last century was more or less a sort of religious tract, warning against intemperance, disobedience to authority, sexual irregularity, and ending often with a marriage, an institution guaranteed to control the worker whose young children, hostages to fortune, would oblige him to do work that he did not want to do. No wonder modernism erupted with such force a century ago. Joyce, Mallarmé, and Mann, each in his own way, chose not to observe the world from the point of view of a contented victim of society. Modernism chose to illuminate the life of the interior, whether it be of a man dreaming of a new language for the night, or of how a genius submits himself to the devil as spirochete. I suspect that I was drawn to the idea of my own country as a subject by those school teachers who are paid to give us a comforting view of a society that, after eliminating the original population of the continent, lived more or less happily with slavery, while imposing an often demented monotheism on one another as well as on the other breeds that came under its restless rule. Nevertheless, I believed that there was an American idea, if not exceptionalism, worth preserving, and so I set out.